Hi, second grade. All right, here we are with Ralph S. Mouse. Can't remember what happened. I have to look here. Let's see. I know they were upset. Oh, they were upset about the newspaper article. And they thought maybe they would write some letters about it. All right, so let's see what happens. Chapter 8. Ralph Speaks. Ralph was tired of skulking about, hiding in mittens and boots, scrounging glue-flavored seeds from fourth-grade mosaics, and eating sugar, which he had overheard children say rotted teeth. He was nervous about the mouse hunt that was about to begin at Sneed Elementary School, all because he had innocently wanted to leave the inn to save an old man's job. Ralph felt that he was being blamed for everything that went wrong, and that trying to be good was not worthwhile. Ralph left Melissa's boot because he did not want Ryan to find him. He slipped behind a row of textbooks on health in a bookcase under a window and sat there, pondering large problems such as the unfairness of life and the shortage of liberty and justice for well-being mice. Ralph longed to return to the inn, but he knew that even if he found a way to get there, he could never face the jeering little relatives. First, they would demand to know what happened to his motorcycle. Then they would tell him it had served him right that it was broken, because he had been so selfish. But I've got to go someplace, Ralph decided. Perhaps he could move into a restaurant in Cucaracha. Now that the snow was melting, there were no longer any danger of being buried. However, his feet might freeze, or he might drown in dirty slush. He was too angry with Ryan to ask for help. What Ralph needed was transportation, other than, of course, feet. Ralph tried to make plans. If he could somehow get a hold of the pieces of his motorcycle, and he could manage to nip off a strand of Mrs. K's strong hair, perhaps he could tie his motorcycle together again. While Ralph sat brooding behind the books, he was not forgotten by Room 5, who found the problems of a mouse much more interesting than making sentences out of spelling words. Hands were raised and questions asked. But Miss K, don't you think we should try to find Ralph? Someone might step on him. Miss K, how are they going to investigate the school for mice? Miss K, will they poison Ralph? Miss K laid down her chalk and gave up trying to teach. Miss K, said Ryan, I'm sure Ralph is the only mouse here. He could have done all of those things by himself. Ryan's remark gave the class hope for Ralph. I know what we could do, said Melissa. We could get him to walk across a stamp pad so he would leave purple footprints. That way we could see if he went to the cafeteria and the library and all of those places. Ralph groaned. Purple feet? That Melissa and her bright ideas. The class was quick to point out that the ink would soon wear off, that Ralph would have to keep running back to the stamp pad, which no mouse would do. Anyway, they would have to find him first. Well, class, said Miss K, I can see we are not going to get any work done until we find out more about the superintendent's investigation. If you will promise to work quietly on your spelling sentences, I will go ask Mr. Tanner what he plans to do. The class promised. Of course they would work quietly. Didn't they always work quietly when the teacher left the room? Ralph climbed to the top of the book to watch. As soon as Miss K left, Melissa, taking the precaution of leaving the door open, posted herself as a lookout. When the teacher was safely out of sight, everyone began to whisper at once. Wads of paper flew back and forth. Ryan pulled the broken motorcycle out of his pocket and said to Brad, see what you did? By standing on his hind legs on top of a book, Ralph was able to see the remains of his motorcycle. More than Miss K's hair would be needed to repair that wreck. His motorcycle was broken in 2 pieces. The muffler dangled, the spring forks were bent, the handlebars twisted. Ralph felt sick looking at it, sick and angry. Brad scowled. Why don't you buy him another one? You're a rich kid. Why should he, thought Ralph. Brad was the one who broke it. I'm not a rich kid. Ryan was astonished by Brad's remark. Then how come you live in a hotel? Demanded Brad. Because my mom works there, said Ryan. I eat in the kitchen with the maids and the waitresses. Oh, obviously Brad had not known this. Where's your father? I don't know. Ryan was sensitive about the subject. Someplace, I guess. Psst, hissed Melissa and scooted back to her seat. Quite as mice, thought Ralph as the head bent over spelling words. Miss Kay was smiling when she walked to the front of the room. The class looked up, waiting for her answer. Mr. Crossman, the superintendent, telephoned Mr. Tanner this morning to ask about mice at Sneed, she told her class. Mr. Tanner said he didn't think there was much to worry about. That reporter got carried away. Mr. Crossman said that was good because since people voted for Proposition 13 and taxes had been cut, the school district couldn't afford an exterminator. Mr. Tanner told him not to worry, that he would have Mr. Costa set up mousetraps overnight and see what happens. Mr. Crossman said there was enough money in the budget for 5 mousetraps. Traps, thought Ralph. What a joke. Was that the investigation? Someone asked. 1 phone call? Miss Kay laughed. That was the investigation. Even though the class was concerned for Ralph's safety, everyone felt let down. They had expected some excitement, a team of men in white uniforms perhaps, as the school closed for several days. If Mr. Costa doesn't catch any mice, do we get to write our letters to the Cucaracha Voice? Asked Gloria. That's right, agreed Miss Kay. But what if Mr. Costa catches Ralph? Someone asked. Others voiced the same worry. Ralph was insulted. Hadn't he proved his intelligence by finding a new way to run a maze? He knew all about traps. As soon as he was old enough to leave the nest, his mother had taken him to see a baited trap in the hotel kitchen and explained the evils done by one. We'll just have to take that chance, said Miss Kay. Now please settle down and finish those spelling sentences. All right, we're going to stop for there today. We'll pick it up again tomorrow. Bye, guys.